Today I have another installment of my Project Bin, which is the series where I go over basically any interesting project that doesn't make the cut for a video. So without further ado, let me just get straight into some of the stuff. So the first thing I have to talk about is this carrying case. So if you remember, I actually already have one of these. This one I bought from a friend for $40, and that's because some of these boxes, the lids mostly aren't in great shape, but I just wanted another one of these cases because they were nice, and $40 is really not bad for one of these, even missing one of the boxes. At some point soon, I do want to buy more of these just plain boxes since I've got the carrying cases for it, which will make my life a lot easier. But for now, I've just got this new one. Along a similar line, I also got these cases recently. They were free from another member of the club I'm part of, and I've been using these to store my DC engines. I had a much worse storage situation. I didn't like how I had it. So these cases, even though a few of the engines are stacked just a little bit, which I don't like, it's significantly better for all my loose engines. All my engines that have boxes are remaining in those boxes, but this is how I'm storing all the loose engines, and it's going to make my life a whole lot easier. Some other new things are a whole bunch of new tools. For one, I got more fiberglass pencils. There's 3 of these. I didn't feel like I needed to drag them all out, so there's one of them. And I also got, I'll grab them right here, a new pair of wire strippers. These are much better for smaller gauges of wire, which, as you can see, I've been using them quite a bit. I've used them on some projects recently, which I'll get to in a bit. There's also this new X-Acto knife set, which has 2 knives, it's got a whole bunch more blades, and it's got, I believe, even more blades, larger sizes in here. There's also another cutting thing that came with it, which these blades go to. I didn't feel like dragging it out. It's more of a box cutter style, so that'll also be useful, but again, this is another new tool. There's also this circuit board tape. This is in various different sizes, ranging from really thin to really thick. This is going to be quite good for converting some engines to DCC, and it'll be much better than using plain old electrical tape. It'll provide a lot more insulation. Probably most useful is going to be this, which is a brand new screwdriver set, which I will open up and show you. Which this thing has a lot more bits than my old one. You've got other little odds and ends over here, but you've got basically every single bit you could need in here. I wanted to get this because it's got much better organization than my old screwdriver kit that I used for years did, which I'm giving to a friend. So for now, I will try and keep this thing as organized as possible, and it'll be a very useful tool, which I'll probably use in a whole bunch of restoration. The last bit of tools and parts that I've got new is this heat shrink tube set. I needed to get this for some other projects, one of which you'll see immediately. But these are going to be much better than my old heat shrink tube stuff that I've been using. These actually have adhesive in them and they shrink a lot more. If I can get it open, there's various different sizes in here. This is the one I'll probably be using most, and there's the most of it. This works really well with regular HO scale sized wires. So this will be quite useful for a lot of repairs, restorations, DCC installations, and all that fun stuff. Of the projects that the wire strippers and heat shrink tubing has been useful for, this is the biggest example. This is a Bachmann 484 that I got for free quite some time ago with DCC, and for many months it had been down because of the major issue with Bachmanns. Their wires from their engines to the tenders, they broke. The connecting pins on them are really bad. I had a spare plug laying around. I was just waiting on a heat shrink tube to fix it up, and I have spliced and installed a new plug. You can, if it'll focus, you can hopefully see where the heat shrink tubing is. It sticks down a little bit. I've test run this thing for several hours at this point at the club I'm part of, and it's not interfered at all with any of the ties or any of that, so I believe that's good. This engine does need a little bit more work. I want to get it a new bell, mainly, at some point. And at that point, I think this thing might just need Katie's, and it'll be a done project. And maybe at some point, this will be a stretch. It could get sound. Another engine that's now in significantly better shape is my first of 3 Rivarossi 240s. This one was missing a drive shaft. I ordered a whole bunch of them from Amazon, or not Amazon, eBay recently, and they finally came in. This engine now has a drive shaft, and it can run, which I'll show you closer to the end of the video. Another project I've been working on, which I'm very much in the middle of right now, is this Aristocraft 422. If you remember, I restored this thing in a video, then later found out the motor was bad, and then later ordered it a new motor, and I'm now at that point. I have found that the motor in this thing that I bought is no good. It's too high speed and low torque, which basically means it doesn't have enough power to actually spin the wheels over if it's on the track. So I've tried ordering some new motors and some new worm gears and all that fun stuff, which should be here soon. If you want to see the tender linkage, I do need to wire up the actual Aristocraft tender to pick up power. So for now, to test the thing out, to get all the motor stuff working, I actually wired up this, which is the rear tender truck from my old Pemco SD35, which was an engine I hated, to this unit. So for now, I guess that engine can serve its purpose, and hopefully I can get this thing running with a new motor as soon as both of them and all the worm gears and all that other fun stuff arrives. Next up is a bit of an oddball. It's this. It is a 70s or 80s era Bachmann chassis. I was given this by the same person who gave me the Rivarossi E8 in the fictional paint scheme. This one actually is just for parts. I don't know what I'll do with it, but the history of the actual engine, the ASC engine, it stands for the Aptos Santa Cruz, which is a town in Santa Cruz County, which there's a real-life freight line running through, and it's just a little bit of an interesting story. It is supposedly a fictional line that takes over it from the Southern Pacific in the 70s, which is why all the models were painted, and that's actually when they were all done up, because there's more to it than just my one E8. Maybe at some point we'll see more of them on the channel. I don't know. That might be something to look out for. We'll see how things go. But it's just a really interesting and fun fictional railroad, which I thought I'd share just a little bit more about because it is cool. Going back to something from way earlier in the video, if you remember the new carrying cases I bought, they actually came with two cars. The first of which is this Walther's center beam. This one's in a little bit of rough shape. The whole paint and everything on it isn't that great, and it's missing all its steps. It's a kind of oddball looking car, but for my purposes, I can use it for a little while. The coupler heights and weight are okay. It'll fit on a train. It's not the nicest thing. I'll probably replace it at some point, but it is going to be kind of a useful piece to have around for a little bit. The next car is again a Walther's. It's in kind of rough shape. It's a intermodal car. I forget what length it is, but it's missing all of the handrails, a lot of these side steps. They might be missing some on the other side, I think. Yeah, we're missing that one and that one. It's just kind of in rough shape, but again, I can use it and throw it on a freight train for the time being, and then probably in the near future, get rid of it. The last thing I have to go over before we test out the 240 is something I actually just got yesterday, which is in this box. These were on the free table of the club I'm part of. These are two grain cars. This is a CNW one, and then we've got this one. I don't know what the SCL is. For Seaboard Coastline, maybe I could read. It says it right there. But these cars are both in quite rough shape. They should have all the weights and stuff in here and everything they'd need. They probably will need a whole bunch of work that I'll do at some point off camera. But these might be able to replace some other grain cars in my fleet, which I've got a lot of ones that aren't in all that great a shape that I can replace. So if I get these things into a condition that I like, I might end up getting rid of some of my other ones, which would be quite nice. Here's the Rivarossi 240 running. It's still a little bit noisy. Don't know how well that comes across on camera, but the thing does actually run now, which is quite nice. So if you couldn't tell, I was trying a new format for this video, seeing if making it go a little bit quicker and spending less time on all the individual pieces might be better. So let me know what you thought about it. For the most part, nobody really leaves feedback on these, which if you want to, it would be much appreciated. But again, thanks for watching if you stuck around. Not many people do. Hopefully this can attract some more people in the future.